Hello, and welcome to the GenXplainers podcast. I'm here with the panel, Al and Mike. Hello, guys.
Hi. Hello.
And today we have a very special episode. A little while back, went to see a concert, a performance by artist Laurie Anderson. Not sure how many people know who Laurie Anderson is, but who she is an artist, performance artist, just a general artist and musician. She's a sort of a Renaissance gal, Renaissance woman.
I was doing sculpture at the time, and when I was in school, there was some kind of requirement, really, that basically sculpture had to, A, weigh a lot, and B, be welded. And so there's this kind of machismo that was going on, and my work really didn't have a lot to do with that. It became things with words, and so big photographs on the wall with kind of scraggly writing. And I thought, wait a second, if I want to use words, I should use them, all aspects of them, tone of voice as well. So I thought, well, the easiest way is to just say the words.
You know, I seem to count music in a different way than a lot of people. I notice that when I'm working with musicians or producers, they come in and I go, well, the track goes like this. It goes, da-dong gong ga ga da ga boom ba da 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 and one. And they're going, that's not where one is, you know. And I go, yeah, it is where one is. So I've found that I've had to make up some kind of little conducting dances instead of 2, 3, 4. It's a little bit more complicated just to show them where the downbeat is. So like this song, Smoke Rings, count like this.
So this tour was called Let X Equal X, which is one of her songs from her first album. And it was a bit of a retrospective. She did a lot from that first album. I think, Mike, you mentioned that it's possibly an anniversary one, but I don't know. There's no year that I can think of because it's 2023, 4 when she was touring for this.
I think that was being promoted as an anniversary, and I'd have to go and find where I saw the promotions for
I mean, either way, she was highlighting older songs and a lot from that first album. So let's talk a little bit about our personal experience with Laurie Anderson. I mean, she is just the most unlikely sort of musical success. And she did get some success. Like early on, her first hit was I Don't Understand How It Happened, but it's a song
no one does.
It's a song she did. It was a single, and you know, it was one of her, as an artist, it was very experimental and very visual, but the song it was Oh Superman.
Oh, Superman. Oh, John. Oh, Mom and Dad. Mom and Dad.
So I actually probably would think that the first song I heard from her was Oh Superman, because I can't think of an earlier song that I did hear. And which makes sense because I didn't really know who she was until that. I don't think I ever heard I don't think I heard the album until I was probably over at Matt's house
And
sometime.
Yeah, the album, I don't know if I said the name of the album. It's Big Science.
Yeah.
If I did, there it is.
And I believe you had it on vinyl and you put it on the stereo and just like, hey, let's put this on. And then we started listening to it. And I think that we were pretty quiet for the first couple songs just listening to it.
I was going to say, I think you started slowly backing away. No.
Yeah. And then I sort of distinctly remember, like, especially with let X equals X, you dancing.
What? No, there's no way I did.
No, you were like doing the words to me, like, I met this guy.
So I was lip syncing, or I was singing along.
You were standing up and doing motions with it, and I distinctly remember this for some reason. I don't know if I heard the first album at that time, but I heard at least part of it there. Sure. And then I ended up on the many weekend trips we had to Tower Records. I'm sure I picked it up there.
Yeah,
and of course had it at that time. So
yeah, no, definitely the first thing I heard from her was "Oh Superman," and I bought the record in high school, as you did. And I remember, my most vivid memory of that record is I loved it, and I put it on, and my family was there, including my my first stepmother, Mary Beth. I don't know if you met Mary Beth.
I remember Mary Beth vaguely.
Okay, yeah. And I put it on, and it started playing. I think "Oh Superman" was the first song. Even if it wasn't the first one.
I think it's "From the Air," possibly.
I think "From the Air" is the first album. Yeah.
But you put that one on specifically. Okay.
Yeah. And as soon as it came on, she's like, "You have to turn this off. You have to turn this off now." Like, it was so like, no.
Wow. Yeah.
And she used to do like I don't know if you got the biokinesiology, where you like, you touch things like a fruit or something, and then you try and push down on your finger, and if it's strong resistance, like, oh, this is good. But if it goes down immediately, you're like, oh, this is bad. And the song came on, and she went, and her finger went down, and she's like, no, you got to turn this off. Okay, all right.
Well, with sound science like that.
Yeah.
Anyway. Yeah. Very unlikely sort of single. I remember hearing it. I was at my friend Ray's house, and we listened to the college stations and try to hear what's new, what's going on, because I don't want to hear Cheap Trick again. No, nothing wrong with Cheap Trick. And then KFJC, or one of the college stations, played "Oh Superman," and my initial reaction was just like, what is going on? What is going on here? I reacted just like Laurie Anderson does sometimes. And but we listened to it, and by the end of it, I'm like, that was cool. I'm not sure what that was, but I really think it's awesome. And again, it was at a period where I was all into like music that incorporated technology, or like sampling, or even just like synth sounds, or just something different than guitar based rock. And I think I was just kind of captivated by the sound of "Oh Superman." And yeah, then I probably went and bought the album and said, "Mike, listen to this." And then I did some dancing.
It could be you. It's a sky blue sky. Satellites are out tonight. Let X equal
So yeah, that's the first album, and again, this tour kind of takes its name from one of the songs, "Let X equal X," and I had read a New York Times article about the tour, and their angle was she seems to be kind of having fun again, or sort of being a little more joyous, or in her performances. Because prior to this, the albums that her last two albums were like, one was about Hurricane Sandy and the flood in New York, and her last studio album of her was Homeland, and that was a very politically charged. Oh, and Life of a Dog, about her dog, who died, and also her husband Lou Reed died. So there was a lot of dark. Mm-hmm. A lot of her work of late had been very somber and reflective. Very good still, but not like Sharky's Day fun, whatever.
Yeah.
So they said it was.
You sort of glossed over that fact a little bit, but yeah, she was married to Lou Reed, which was, I think, pretty. I mean, he was more well known, of course.
Yeah.
But I think that, I mean, I don't know how long they were married, but they were together for a very long time.
They 92. They started. They met in 92. So in the 90s. They worked together and they got together. I like to say that people seem to say Laurie Anderson, that was Lou Reed's wife. I go, I think Lou Reed was Laurie Anderson's husband. But I'm not a huge fan of Lou Reed. But
no,
again, I'm trying to get over it. I'm trying to get over that. Be a little more open-minded.
Do some Tai Chi. You need to do some Tai Chi, Matt.
Anyway, back to the show.
Sorry.
So let's talk about the show. What did y'all think of the show? I really enjoyed the show. It was a mixed bag of stuff. She has in the past done very large multimedia performances. This was not a huge multimedia performance. She was with Sex Mob, a band, was backing her and added a lot of instrumentation to some of these songs that that didn't originally have a lot of that necessarily. And they were great. I think it added a lot. And so what did you think of this show?
I loved it. I thought sound-wise, production-wise, the different variations of the song she did where she changed it up and used the band effectively. The band itself was really amazing. The musicians she got. I don't know. I just for me all around the combination of the production and also just the selections of songs, especially songs that I really wanted to hear and songs I didn't expect to hear, that surprised me, which was really good. So I think that the mixture of what she did was really strong and effectively showing a lot of the course of her career and where it's gone, where it's different from other stages and stuff like that. I thought it was all really well done, and I like the stuff she had on screen, the visuals that she did use, which again, not I say multimedia, but it was really effective on the staging and the lighting and everything else too. So I really thought it was a strong show.
Yeah, it was kind of like the visuals were good, but not like. That wasn't like the huge part of the show. I mean, it was there, and it wasn't
the highlight,
and it added to it. But it really was the songs and the performance. How about you, Al? How'd you like the show?
Going into, I've seen Laurie Anderson before a few times, and going into it, I actually hadn't been aware of what it was in support of. I knew I was just going to like it, and but I remember all day. The day of the show, man, I really love From the Air. I hope she plays From the Air. Really hope she plays From the Air. And then that's what she opened with. So I was very excited. Oh, I'm really going to like this now.
Good evening. This is the captain. We are about to attempt a crash landing. Place your tray tables in their outward locked position. Your captain says, put your head on your knees. Captain says, put your head on your hands. Captain says, put your hands on your head. This is your captain. We are going down. We are all going down. Together. Step by step.
Yeah, the song selection was fantastic. I really think that having Sex Mob backing her really added something, an immediacy to the songs.
Yeah,
it was really, really enjoyable. And I always love Only an Expert.
Mm-hmm. I have the set list as far as what I remembered, and also setlist.com. People added to it. And I think this is correct. Here or there might be like little things, but basically she started with From the Air, which was great. And then I think it went right into Let X Equal X and It's Tango.
It did. Yeah.
And then we did a little audience participation where she, in homage of, or, Yoko Ono, we all screamed for 10 seconds at the top of our lungs.
I want to thank the great artist Yoko Ono and for her comment back in the U.S. election in 2016 when she was asked by the media for her thoughts on the winner of the election. She screamed for 3 minutes. Now, this was not a self-conscious, like, art scream. This was a bloody murder death scream from hell. So in her honor, I'm going to ask you to join me with the scream, and not for 3 minutes, but only for 10 seconds, and I'm going to time it. Anyway, are you ready? Yeah! Oh, are you ready? Yeah! Okay, it's going to be at the count of 3. Ready? 1, loud as you can. 2, 3.
It was very loud. I covered my ears, but then I kind of listened at the end. I'm like, wow, that is very loud. I'm assuming she's going to record it and then put it on a sample and play it on a violin at some point. A triggered violin.
Which is what she does.
This is what she does. And that's, that's one of the reasons I love her. Again, I was into, alternative types of instruments when I first heard of Superman, and she's invented violins and instruments, and she's innovative and very technological, and that's up my alley. I love it. But anyway, after the Yoko Ono scream, "Oh Superman," which again, as mentioned, the added instrumentation, which it wasn't over the top. It was spare, but it was really effective, and it held up so well. And so that was great. And this is the part I'm not sure. I thought they did this song later, but according to Setlist, that's when she did a little funny bit about, her heroes and what would they do.
Right.
And she kind of did a couple examples, and then the last one was James Brown, and they did a little bit of Get on the Good Foot. I thought that was later, but people on the set list think
it was pretty early. It was pretty early on,
okay.
I think. Yeah,
I get confused. And then after that was Gravity's Angel, which is one of my favorite songs from her on her albums, and it was really good too.
Yeah.
And then she did a version of a song called Ramon, which is from her Strange Angels album, but completely different music, just sort of the lyrics over a much more atmospheric, and I thought it was fantastic.
Some people walk on water. Some people walk on broken glass. Some just walk round and round in their dreams. Some just keep falling down.
Before you continue, I also thought that, especially with these particular songs and the earlier ones, her transitions from song to song to all her transitions between the various aspects of the show are so good. Mm-hmm. Especially when they went from the hero thing over to Gravity's Angel, and that transition with this haunting music and imagery, and all of a sudden, ding, ding, ding.
Yeah, she's always been really good at that.
All that stuff is really good, and that's what I like so much about seeing her live, especially is those transitions and how she understands how everything fits together really well structurally.
Right. Yeah. Like when I go ahead.
No, I was going to say, and I was saying that because you're a structuralist. So.
Yeah. Well, I was going to say, related to that, it's like, you hear it's a retrospective. She's not touring a new piece that has all new stuff. So you're like, oh, well, how is she going to sort of first choose and then track what she's going to do within the show? Because she is such a, she does it seamlessly, and there's a deliberate order when she has an art piece or a performance piece. But yeah, she did a great job with that, and she's still kind of like, like repurposing the lyrics of that song I mentioned, Ramon, to have a different feel and different visuals than we've ever seen, and have it fit in with what she's doing. I mean, she is putting in new work here. She's not just playing some old tune.
Well, yeah, of course, yeah.
So yeah, that was really great. And again, and the next song was it's the B side to "Oh Superman." I know that.
Oh, okay.
And again, this is a song that's kind of crazy, and it sort of reminds me of why I like Laurie Anderson. Like I said, there's that aspect of of just being innovative and using instruments that are really cool, that I thought were very cool. And she's very, I don't know, she's just very compelling of a performer. The way she speaks and the way she presents her stuff is very, not only very kind of inventive and can be very intellectual, but she's very funny. She's got a great sense of humor about even herself, you know, but she's very funny. And then Walk the Dog is an example of kind of a funny song because it's, you know, it has this modulated, really high voice that she sings in. And again, that's more technology. She modulates her voice up and down depending on the quote character she's playing in the song. And then there was the next section of the show was very, very cool. It was a song by Lou Reed. And she had Lou Reed's image and his voice saying or singing or Lou reading the lyrics. That she added her violin and the band played during it and made it a very kind of, it was clearly personal for her and emotional.
It's a song actually by Lou Reed and Metallica.
Oh, and Metallica. Right.
The brain that once was listening now shoots out its tiresome message.
Which again, I think I mentioned I'm not a huge fan of Lou Reed, but I don't know. I thought that was really affecting. I think it was great.
Yeah.
And then she went into an instrumental violin song at the end of that called Flow. And this was written, it was basically on one of those albums where she's dealing with loss. And then Dog Show, which is from United States, which is a very old song again. And that went in, and I think the period was when she was from about her dog Lulabelle. And I think she put in Dog Show because she was in a section of the concert about loss and people she's lost and that period of her career. Because the song after that was called The Lake, and The Lake is about a story about when she was a kid and with her two brothers, and kind of a funny story about how they fell through the ice when she was on a lake.
Oh, God,
they drowned.
That was great.
Which doesn't sound funny, but the way she says it is. So I don't know. I thought that section was really interesting, very emotional, very cool. And then the last few songs, she did the next song was called "It's Not the Bullet That Kills You, It's the Hole," and that was her first ever musical single. That was her first single. So she just was reaching back. And that's
which
I
actually didn't know that song until she performed it. So
yeah, I had heard it, but I had forgotten about it. And it's kind of an interesting calypso song, or it has this different vibe to it. And I think she said she wrote it because of a conversation with a friend who was worrying about
it was an artist who was shooting himself in the arm.
Yeah. Oh, right. That's right. Yeah, that's the art scene she's from. This kind of.
Cause in a hole, it's so dark, can't see a thing. It's easy to lose sight of your goal. It's not the bullet that kills, you know. It's the hole, it's the hole, it's the hole.
Finishing off the show, getting to the end here, she did "Only an Expert," which I think we mentioned, which is a great song from Homeland, and then that was what they ended with, and then they came out for the encore, which was to have the audience do Tai Chi with her, which was great.
Yeah.
Yeah, it was really good. And again, she's from this art scene that, New York art scene that's very I mean, I can see why people kind of would roll their eyes at some of the art that was going on, but she transcends it because of her sense of humor, I think. I don't know.
Yeah. Yeah, no, I like that when she shares anecdotes just in the middle of songs, like her art teacher telling her to, "Oh, I see your painting here. Why don't you throw that away?" Kind of thing.
Right, yeah.
Like things like that. I think are very funny because she's talked about like how even her own art's like, well, yeah, it's like I'm not happy with a lot of stuff I'm doing. It's garbage, kind of thing at times. And so like you move on and do the next thing and the next thing and the next thing.
And
like,
she's always doing something interesting.
Yeah.
She told that great story about how when she was at school for sculpting, she would teach classes on Egyptology.
Yeah.
I guess at night or whenever, in her off time. And she would sometimes forget what she was supposed to say about certain images of whatever they were studying. And she'd just make stuff up.
Really, when I first began doing performances was that teaching experience. Because basically I was not an art historian. And I just, forgot a lot of the facts. So I would just make them up, and people were writing them down and I was giving them tests on them. I eventually quit that job. And not before I was fired, but very, very close.
And I think, she was telling that story because that's kind of what got her into the performance bit, oh, it's kind of fun to be up here and kind of spin these stories and people are interested in them. And then obviously the music part. I mean, she's trained in violin as well. She was also studying violin. But she hadn't done like recorded songs or certainly not albums or movies yet. Or maybe short films, actually. One thing I want to mention, one of her early art pieces was the way she did it was she had a violin. And again, she has all these really cool violins, but it was a violin that had tape recorder in it. And she would play along with country and Western songs that were playing out of the violin. Because the cassette was on a loop or the recording was on a loop, she's like, well, how am I going to know when to stop? So what she did was she put on ice skates and froze them into blocks of ice and stood on there and played and then when the ice melted from her skates, that's when she knew she was done. And then the performance was over. It was that kind of stuff that she was doing. And she toured that around she did it on street corners in New York City, and she went abroad in Italy and did it. That's kind of where she's coming from. Again, there's a sense of humor to it, and but there's also like, obviously there's like messaging too.
Now, one of the main things I learned from going to all these futuristic tech conferences is that there is no such thing as an artist anymore. We are now officially known as content providers. Now, why does this sound like something from the Chinese Cultural Revolution? Content providers? We'll house them over there.
So yeah, a good show. I guess I don't have much more to say, except let me ask you, what were your favorite moments in the show? I'm going to start and say, I think the version of Oh Superman was really great and a high point. And I think that I actually think that section, the Lou Reed and all the section about loss, this is what I'm getting out of that section. Maybe people could, I think that was really good. And I liked the reuse of the Ramon lyrics with different imagery and music.
Yeah, I'm not sure I have specific sections of the show I like, but I liked my two favorite songs that were performed were From the Air and Only an Expert.
Is it only an expert can see there's a problem? Only an expert can deal with the problem? Only an expert can deal with the problem.
And I really like those sections, or those two songs, what she did with the screen and the band and everything else a lot. So those are my two favorites.
I really liked the screaming when we all screamed.
Yeah.
I'm not being snide. I liked it. That was
I
really enjoyed that a lot. And I really liked it too. That Mike mentioned a lot. Probably my favorites. The only thing I would add to it is I also liked the version of Gravity's Angel she did. Really,
it
was great. Moving.
Yeah, that was really good. Oh, that's the show here. Laurie Anderson, she's still on tour. That XOX tour is still going. I would say check it out if you have any interest in sort of very interesting music and performance. And with that, I want to thank the panel again. Thanks, guys.
Thank you.
Thank you.
And we will talk to y'all later. Bye.
Bye-bye. Bye-bye.
Bye.